Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Sketch Watch Play. I am John Fleury.
And I'm Christopher Wade.
Coming through more clear than ever before, thanks to the magic of Discord.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, full disclosure, people, we've used Skype up to this point, and it has given us a boatload of technical problems. Drop connections, Chris having, issues with sound quality, even with, like, a great internet setup and mic and such. Mm-hmm. Some of it might have had to do with the fact that we did video calls all the time, but I doubt it's the sole culprit. So Chris recommended me yesterday, John, let's try Discord, and I think it's already paying off.
Yeah, from what it sounds like I'm able to hear you without having to put my face up really close to the screen and not hear you go and me. No, don't do that.
There was and I think you probably noticed on our Transformers episode, there's a part where each froze for each other.
Yeah.
So on my end, in the final episode, it sounds like you go, are you frozen? That was actually the most hilarious things I've ever heard like that on other podcasts are once on Generation Animation, Felipe had something that made him slow down. So it was him going, so Dave.
I do remember that.
Oh, you heard that? It was the Scooby-Doo WWE race.
Yeah.
And another one I love, the first podcast I ever listened to, Anime World Order, there's an episode where just the beginning, the female co-host had something happen, so her vocals got chipmunked. So they were like, you sound very off, and she was like, I don't know, and they were just losing their shit.
Yeah, I'm very glad that so far I'm able to hear you clearly. Let's stick with this for a while.
Yes, assuming he doesn't crash on us or blow up my computer or anything.
Yeah.
But so we've got it's been a pretty straightforward 2 weeks for me at least. Anything interesting going on with you lately, or anything you've seen?
Well, I did see Wonder Woman pretty.
We're going to get to that in just a second, but
okay. Well, okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I'll just say up front real quick. I have a new game and movie I would recommend to people. The Crash Bandicoot remakes are real fun. Obviously, it helps if you were a fan of them already, but they did a really nice job doing it. The graphics are amazing in it, and they're still quite fun. Very hard, but
I've definitely been hearing. I've been seeing a good deal of love for the new Crash. For a new Crash game that's come out, like Twitter's been pretty happy about it.
The reviews have been better than I expected too.
And you know what? This is probably a good chance for me to jump in because I really wasn't a big Crash Bandicoot fan aside from the commercials where he's like the
guy in the suit, which they brought back.
The guy in the suit, and you're hurting my arm. I'm like, who is this guy?
Snake, clear the area. I'll scare it off. But did you not like the games when you played them?
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. Like I was still in my Mario Sonic phase. And
okay, I mean, if your tastes haven't changed, your opinion is going to be the same. They didn't alter the gameplay in the slightest.
Oh well, my horizon's been broadened since I was a wee lad. So I mean, back then I was like, this isn't Mario or Sonic. I didn't want a purple dragon in my face. I hate this. What is Bandicoot? I don't want any of this shit in my life. So
they followed the Sega pattern of nobody knows what an echidna is. Let's go with that.
Yeah, basically. And like me who had like a big book of animals was like, I don't see a Bandicoot anywhere. They're making this up.
Nope.
Yeah,
it's really obscure. But yeah, they're fun games. And I feel what was going to say about them. You mentioned, I was going to make a segue because you said Horizon. I can't believe I'm reading this, but apparently, at least in the UK, it's the biggest single little title exclusive launch of the year so far.
You're talking about
Crash.
Oh, really?
I know. I can't believe it. I hoped it would do well, but it's done real well.
Oh, wow.
That's which amazing. Gives me hope because one, I think they even said this kind of is testing the water to see if anybody's interested in a new entry.
Yeah.
And two, maybe that'll tell them let's do some Spyro remakes too. I would be up for that. I actually liked Spyro more than Crash back in the day, so I'm hoping that him being tethered to Skylanders wouldn't prohibit it. Best case scenario, they can keep both around. Yeah,
same here. Though I wasn't really big on either of those games, I still preferred the look of Spyro.
Me more the gameplay, but they were both very fun. And also, I think we had mentioned this before Yooka-Laylee came out, that we were kind of hoping that recent renewed interest in developers in 3D platformers could encourage people to make more. And I still don't know if Yooka-Laylee sold well, but this sold well could mean good avenues regardless.
Yeah, I still haven't seen official numbers for Ukulele, but I mean, there's hints towards the sequel.
Playtonic has still been very communicative about like they're right now they're plugging away on getting the Switch port done and doing more patches. So it's not like they're going out of business or anything. But
and I played a little bit of it. I wasn't blown out the water from Ukulele. I did have those good vibes from
we talked about it. You mean Colin and I wasn't blown away, but I really liked it. So hopefully they get another shot and they can refine it even more. And so, but I recommend the Crash remakes. I'm actually going to do a video on them soon, but we'll talk more about videos in a bit. The other thing I want to recommend real quick is I've been wanting to get out and see more movies that aren't just blockbusters lately. So when I saw my local like art house theater was playing a movie called The Big Sick, I went and saw it. Have you heard about that movie?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
It's great. Do you know anything about it?
No.
It is kind of a semi-biopic because it's an actual thing that happened. It is written and stars Kumail Nanjiani, who is on Silicon Valley. He's done a lot of stand-up. He's in the new Mass Effect. He's a kind of a rising name who... This is what actually happened. He's a Pakistani-born guy whose family moved to America in his teens, and he's doing stand-up and meets a girl who things get along with well, but there's some culture clashes. He doesn't want to tell his family about her. And then she gets sick and is put in a medically induced coma, so he ends up trying to spend time with her parents, played by Holly Hunter and Ray Romano, both wonderfully. And it's the very definition of a dramedy. A lot of funny stuff, some really emotional stuff. I'll just cut to the quick. It was great. It was a wonderful, wonderful movie.
Gotcha.
Very funny, very sweet. I actually teared up at one point. And it's one of the best reviewed movies of the year so far. And I hope it does well financially. I mean, it doesn't have a huge budget, but I hope it can catch on, as those kind of movies go. And I hope it gives Nanjiani future opportunities. I like him even more now because I went on Rotten Tomatoes. He did his top 5 movie list, and one of them is Iron Giant.
Oh,
my kind of guy.
You found a friend. That's awesome.
I've got a friend in Nanjiani. But yeah, but since I cut you off earlier, I think we have both seen Wonder Woman now.
Whoever you are in more danger than you think.
Be careful, Diana.
If no one else will defend the world, then I must.
Yeah, and it was pretty sweet.
It was good. Full disclosure, I think this is another example of kind of what I mentioned with Mad Max for me, in that I don't think it's one of the greatest things ever, but I did have a good time with it. Yeah,
it definitely isn't the second coming of superhero movies as I'm hearing a few people claim it to be.
Yes, but it's the shining star of the DCEU.
Yeah,
that probably helped its reception. In
this current iteration of the DC comic book films, this is up there. This is pretty good. It definitely blows Man versus Steel or whatever, Batman of Man
versus Steel
definitely blows those other two movies out the water. And
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Damn, I haven't even seen Suicide Squad.
I still haven't either, but I've heard so little good. And actually, I think I've said it before, I did like Man of Steel, but it wasn't deep. This has a little more substance to its story and themes.
Yeah, but Wonder Woman, all right, I hear a lot of people give it a lot of flack for the exposition that happens in a movie, but me being the kind of person that actually likes exposition when it's done well, this handles it pretty well.
Are you talking about the opening act?
Yeah,
that actually was one of my biggest problems. It did feel a little like less plot and more setup. I guess I had a weird Windows 10 review privacy settings. Anyway, but it wasn't bad. And I didn't think the movie was bad, but I was like, you're not really getting it's hard. It is tricky to nail both exposition and plot progression at the same time. If you focus too much on one or the other, it won't work.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I knew as soon as I saw what's her name, Robin Wright. As soon as I saw Robin Wright in that film, I was like, she's gonna die. She's tough as nails.
And you're saying badass. No spoilers.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a half hour in, so it's not the worst spoiler you can do.
Well, yeah, okay. Don't get me wrong, she has a lot of badass parts, but that is the first act is essentially, exposition, and I didn't mind it. I don't know that much about Wonder Woman in the first place.
Same.
So when I'm watching it, I'm like, this is fine.
I didn't know until just the Justice League cartoon that she's basically the DC Thor.
Yeah. basically.
I thought she was just a woman who had like good weapons or something. Like, no, she's like basically a demigoddess.
Mm-hmm. Can you pause really quick? I gotta go abuse these cats really quick because one of them's acting a fool. One sec.
Please stand by.
Up like on the printer and started clawing at the curtains in the window, and then he knows that drives me crazy. So I'm like,
yes,
I have to get up. And
cats are by nature assholes.
Yeah. So as soon as I get up, he stops and tries to run away. So I get a hold of him. I'm like, you need to stop and chill out. And Simba just freaks out like, Daddy, no, please.
I hate it when daddy and sibling fight.
I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Okay, but we're talking about Robin Wright dying, and it's funny. Before I saw the movie, there was a review somewhere or editorial. I think it was on like Kotaku or something, and he got flack because the guy was talking about it was one of those essays where people are talking about what it means for feminist movies because it's the biggest hit with like a superhero female and a female director, which is good. Yeah. But he had a weird part where he was like, let's all admit how uncomfortable we felt in that first act. It was just nothing but women, and half the comments were, dude, that says more about you than the rest of us.
Yeah. I was perfectly fine with this.
Yeah. My issue was the exposition dump. I knew going in like, show us the Amazon Prime. That's cool. I think most people are like that, but that guy he was trying to be progressive and he showed his own.
I was like, how uncomfortable were you? I'm like, this is an island full of women. I'm not uncomfortable at all.
No, I got some eye candy and some good story and some tough women. Yeah. But so outside the first act, the movie did pick up for me once. What's the Chris Evans character? Not Chris Pine. Steve entered the picture, and they went to London. That's where the movie started to gain some steam. It has some good humor. It has some good shots. And I think the thing that people like about it that the other DC movies have been missing, it has heart.
It definitely does. Like the other DC movies always try to hit these very specific moments where you're supposed to feel how legendary these characters are. Yeah. And even though that from far and away, they don't really seem like they're having fun being heroes. Like
they've been emphasizing the spectacle too much.
Yeah, Soups always feels like in Man vs. Steel, I didn't really come away feeling like I'm empathetic towards him, or I felt like a sort of kinship with him. He always seemed kind of bored, or I have to do this because my dad died or something. And the same with Batman, though he was a little bit more relatable when it came to.
Oh, well, Batman's almost always like that.
Yeah.
Not even those movies.
But with Wonder Woman, she wants to be a hero. Like and I hate to say it like this, but that's so damn refreshing. It's archaic. Don't get me wrong, because we see this all the time in Saturday morning cartoons where I'm going to be a hero or I'm going to be a master or something like that.
Anime.
Yeah, but when it comes to like our superhero films, we always either have like a megalomaniac who suffers an injury or who's brought through bad times to really open his eyes, or we have some other reluctant hero who just has to do it, who has to go out for some revenge story, or has to be plopped in the middle of a situation before they can awaken their hidden heroism. But for Wonder Woman, she's like, I want to do this. I want to be a hero. Yeah. I want to learn how to fight.
And you actually, that old comparison you make actually kind of ties to, because obviously many people have compared this to First Avenger, the first Captain America, because of its period piece setting. Granted, it's World War I instead of II. But that actually ties into, like, one of the reasons I love that movie so much, and Steve Rogers in general, is that his entire motivation is about doing right.
Yeah.
And it kind of is the key factor in creating the Captain America persona and his legacy.
Yeah.
And actually, even though I do love First Avenger, there's one thing I think this movie does straight up better, which is that when they give her and Steve this band of other soldiers, you get to know them.
Yeah.
Because First Avenger had a bunch of guys where it was like, here's a French guy, here's a Japanese guy, here's a guy with a bowler hat, and we're not going to tell you anything about them. This is like, no, they all have their own little quirks, insecurities, backstories, and it's really cool.
Now, I do wish that we had a little bit more time with them towards the end, because, I mean, first Act 1 was great, and when I say that, Gal Gadot, how do you say her name?
I think it's Gal Gadot.
Yeah, Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman. I was a little worried at first, because she's not my idealized view of what Wonder Woman is supposed to be. I always imagine Wonder Woman to be big and stocky like Xena, warrior princess.
When she was first announced, people were like, she's too skinny.
Yeah, but I mean, she brings the heart of Wonder Woman to the screen, and when she's like training and getting better, and obviously getting much better with each fight, like that really got me excited. I was like, this is so good. This is so much fun. And then Act 2 happened, and she's in no man's land, and oh my god, the movie peaked at that point. I was like,
most people's favorite part is the whole trench, that whole extended action, and it is really good.
It is so good, and there's just so much heart and optimism in it. And people, I don't want to say people, the trend in Hollywood is to make grim anti-hero movies where, grr, I have to fight, and now it's time to be me.
As we touched on, she's like, in the lead up to that, she's like, we gotta help all these people, and they're having to stretch for like, we can't help every person if we want to win this war.
And she's like, watch me. I'm like, that's what a hero does.
Yeah.
It's not, a hero isn't like you just take the world as it comes. A hero's like, watch me prove you wrong. I love that shit.
I think Chris Pine deserves some credit too, because I really liked him and the character of Steve in this. He was the source of a lot of the heart, especially later on. And we actually should delve into. I think we should. We were hoping to talk a little bit about the end because I think we have conflicting views on it. So, spoilers for the last act of Wonder Woman. Chris, why were you a bit soured on the whole finale?
Man, it really felt rushed just right from jump. Because me being in video production, I can kind of feel when the Act 3 happens. In a lot of movies, if they're done really well, it's very seamless. But as soon as the scene with Gal and Chris Pine, that particular scene, and you know what I'm talking about, where stuff happens, right when nighttime falls and the real shit begins.
Is it when he makes that like last plea to her?
No. It's when they dance. It's when they dance, and that scene ends. And right when they're in the forest and they're about to like go into that building, that's when Act 3 starts. And
I thought it was when they went to that base for the whole last showdown.
It ties into it, but that's where it begins.
Okay.
And that particular showdown with the final baddie, look, let's be honest. The movie tries to pull a bait and switch. It really does. Yeah. It's like, this is the bad guy. Oh no, not really. This was the bad guy the entire
time.
Was
an issue I had where it was like because there's that part. So like the actual fight she does have with the head German guy is brief, but it's really awesome.
It is. It is cool.
And of course, then she kills him quick, and I'm like, okay, what's left? That can't be it. But so when Ares showed up, I was kind of like scratching my head because when the movie was started, I was thinking, okay, maybe they are building this fast. It went on, like, Chris Pine is stressing to her, like, Ares is not the automatic cause of everything. People can be bad on their own. And, like, that's hammering home the central theme of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that would make sense. Maybe they can save Ares for another movie. But then it is like, nope, it was him all along. It was a real have their cake and eat it too moment.
And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I had a really strong feeling it was that mustache twirly guy, too.
Like, was it David Thewlis?
The Harry Potter guy?
Yeah, Lupin.
Yeah, I had a pretty good inkling it was him.
I did not.
As soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, okay, there can only be two villains. If this movie, it'd be really too on the nose if they try to make that other guy the one who's like breathing all the
puppet master.
He gets all super strong from breathing all that heroin, and it'd be really on the nose if they try to make him the villain. So I'm going with mustache twirly guy.
And you were right.
And I was right.
I'm surprised you can catch up on it because I'm usually really good at, like, when I saw Big Hero 6, I called who the villain was when he was first on screen. Like, I'm really good at that.
That wasn't a very good bait and switch either.
No, it was a good movie though. I want to talk about Big Hero 6 someday.
Yeah. But having said that, when it was such a downer by that point because I really wanted the movie to really explore that theme of, there could be an unseen spiritual force that is causing people to act, but what could be worse is that it's just us.
Yeah.
That would be something
and that's what it feels like the movie's building up to. So it's kind of odd. I would have been, like I said, I would have been fine with them saving Ares for a sequel that we're presumably going to get at some point. Yeah. Because we know, they confirm, he exists in this world, but this particular conflict doesn't have to be him.
Yeah, it definitely, and that final fight, personally, I felt it was very messy.
I actually really liked it.
Okay.
I know. I do think I'm in the minority in this. I've heard a lot of similar complaints, but I think I liked it because I actually did feel some investment in it because it did tie into the plot and character motivations. And this kind of I know I've seen other stuff. I do enjoy when like you have like these people going off the internet and one of them's talking about like, why do you want to defend these people? And it comes down to, they're capable of shitty stuff, but I've seen them do wonderful stuff, and that's always very heartwarming. That's definitely what Diana goes through in the end. And
I like that aspect of that fight. Yeah. It's just
it's just everything else.
Well, it felt like if I was a kid and I was so excited about this giant fight scene that I just rambled everything off as it came to mind. Like, what if Ares like took all the metal around him and he made it into like like a giant suit of armor? Then he's really Ares, and then he takes his missile and then he throws it at Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman it explodes into a whole bunch of missiles, and Wonder Woman's like, I got this giant missile, and then he throws it.
By the way, I saw the movie with a cousin of mine, and one, she actually agreed with me that Gal Gadot was hotter than Chris Pine in it, and two, she said when they showed the flashback of Ares, when he's giving his life story, she's like, wait, he had the British mustache even back then?
Everyone has said that. Everyone has said that.
You know what? He's the one who made it fashionable. His subtle influences.
It is so silly. Why? At the very least, fix that, because it is so silly seeing that in Greek god mythos. Like, just seeing like all the Greek gods and Zeus with his mighty angelic beard and the twirly mustache man.
It's almost as bad as when they do movies set in like Nazi Germany and just make everybody British. Like, I heard people complain when they did that Tom Cruise movie Valkyrie. The Nazis were all just British.
Oh,
okay. I don't think how that war went.
No, that's wow.
Yeah.
Man, Valkyrie. Wow, I missed that completely.
No, Jesus. I didn't see it. I just remember reviews and stuff. But it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah. But having said that, one sec, my computer just died on me.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. So having said that, I do think the movie overall is very, very good. I have very personal feelings about the third act. I don't want to say personal, but those are my opinions about it.
You have opinions.
Yeah, but having said that, if you're waiting for a good, legit DC film that's
pretty good,
tight on narrative, and you don't feel like hearing people rag on BVS or Man of Steel, if that's your thing, give Wonder Woman a shot.
Yeah. Also important about this, there is basically nothing about this that's just setting stuff up for future movies.
No, you know what?
And that's refreshing.
It is kind of refreshing. There were a couple points, but they were very small. Where
mainly the bookends.
It was like at the top where the van comes in. You're like, that license plate says Justice League on it. Aha! But that's really it. Wonder Woman really stands on its own, and you don't really need to see it to see Justice League or vice versa.
It's kind of the same thing with First Avenger, because it's so set so far before everything. They kind of can't really force it, even if they want to, for the most part.
I gotta admit, though, it was really, really stupid of me to figure this out until much later. And this kind of says more about what I was trying to get from this movie personally. But I really thought she was fighting Nazis at first. Like, I really thought this was World War II. I really did. And when someone said, "No, Chris, it's World War I," I was like, "Shit, you're right."
Wait, did you think this while the movie was happening?
Yeah. Well, I was so see, I was having so much fun that my logic brain didn't kick in.
Yeah, there was no mention of Hitler, no swastikas.
Yeah. I was like, there's no Hitler in this. There's no swastikas.
No
Where's
Axis.
the atomic bomb? like those were questions in the back of my head, but I was still like, all right, where's the bait and switch that you're trying to make me feel movie? Like I was trying to be in front of the movie and be like, I gotcha.
And really, it was in front of you.
Yeah, and the movie was like, but it's World War I, you dingus.
But we should probably get to our main topic. But I guess we'll both say, like, we both have issues with Wonder Woman, but it's overall pretty solid film. I mean, if you're interested in seeing it, you probably have already. But maybe whenever it's on like Blu-ray or streaming, give it a watch. It's good.
Yeah, it's really fun. You're gonna have a good time.
You're gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That South Park quote doesn't work as well when you change bad to good.
Hi, I'm Leslie Fitchett. Are you fortunate enough to have the snazziest new machinery in your house, but unfortunate enough to have it break on you?
So our main topic today, this is actually leave it to Chris. He picked something really unique. And we're I did talk to you this recently. Another one we're going to do soon is also pretty unique compared to our previous subjects. But he said, we're both artists, writers, animators. Instead of just talking about, stuff other people have talked about, why don't we discuss our own projects, both finished and upcoming, which in my case is almost all upcoming. So I've had kind of like three things on and off going. I'll get two of them, the two smaller ones out of the way. One thing that people do know me for is back in the day mainly, I did a bunch of little flash shorts based on the WarioWare games.
Feast your eyes on the greatest thing to ever come to this town. Straight from the Mushroom Kingdom comes a man who is strong, suave, stylish, and all-around super!
Okay, yeah, I remember you showing me those when me and Serena made that trip up to school.
Oh, I think I showed you a little bit of the latest one. Now keep in mind, I did the first one back in 2004, so they're very cringy. This was like a teen just learning writing and animation.
If I were there, I would put my hand on your shoulder and be like, dude, I feel you.
Yeah, we've all been. I think anybody like us has all been there. And you can find them all on Newgrounds, and another person uploaded the old ones to YouTube also. They're called WarioWare Tooned. It's a play on how they were like WarioWare Twisted, WarioWare Touch. And actually, one interesting thing is about those is that I actually still do want to do more with them, but it's kind of becoming more of a, I have a new one that's halfway done, but I put it on hold to finish a promo short for the main thing we'll talk about. And I kind of have an idea of alternating between them and then stopping Wario after a few more episodes. But there is still stuff I want to do with that because I love that franchise's style and the character concepts are so much fun, and Nintendo does nothing with them.
Yeah. And back in the day when those were starting to hit the scene, when they were making them regularly, and I was like, this is kind of neat. And then I played one and I was like, super, and didn't put it down.
Which one was it?
I forget which one. I think it was Smooth Moves.
Okay, yeah.
And I noticed that Wario had a giant cast of characters, and I was like, cool, he has his own little world now. Yep. This is neat and weird, and
I think the neat thing about it is it feels nothing like the Mario games.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of rubbed me wrong.
That's what I like about it. It's distinct. Up till Mario Odyssey was the only place to find new human characters, and apparently it's because it originally was going to envisioned as an original franchise, but they said let's give it a recognizable character to sell it.
Yeah. Now at the time when the WarioWare series started to become its thing, I was very arm crossed about it. This isn't Mario at all.
When you think about it, it's the raving rabbits of Mario games.
Yeah, it really is. And I honestly should have given it more of a shot because it's really now that I'm a little bit more now that I'm a little bit more aware of what Nintendo's trying to do, as far as trying to make more bizarre kind of games.
It is their most Japanese franchise.
Yeah, but at the same time, I still need to be able to be more accepting of new things instead of being very resilient to change.
Well, Chris, the rabbits are always
God damn it, don't! But no, the WarioWare kind of franchise, they haven't done it with, and they haven't done anything with it for a little bit. But
the last one was Game & Wario for Wii U, which wasn't really it wasn't very good. It was also it was a generic bunch of tech demo mini games they pasted the WarioWare series into. It was not an actual game. And I'm surprised they've done nothing with it for smartphones. It feels like such a perfect fit for short attention span kids. I'm hoping the Switch will get something at some point, but we're still waiting.
Okay.
But just speaking of the cartoons, it's fun to have all these little characters with just crazy concepts and personalities. Besides Wario himself, who I like Wario more than Mario because he has more personality.
He really kind of does.
He's just an asshole. He doesn't care if you think he's an asshole. He thinks he's great. He's all about the money.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting. There's a bunch, not a bunch, but there have been some fan concepts out there for the next Mario and Luigi kind of game.
Wario and Waluigi.
Yeah, Wario and Waluigi, partners in crime.
Yeah,
and I kind of want to see that. It'd be really interesting.
I keep hoping that like the main, any like Mario main games or sports games will acknowledge the spin-off series more, because there's also Wario, Yoshi, and Donkey Kong. And they generally, the characters that originate from those franchises get like no representation outside of them.
But you went and made some fan animations on that on Newgrounds, and honestly, like growing up, I didn't really visit Newgrounds that often. Like it felt like the cool hip place to be, and I was just like, I don't do cool.
When I first found about it, I was like 11 or 12, and I was scared because of how raunchy it was. I was like, this will get me in trouble. Yeah. But then, like in high school and college, I was way into it, and I still check it out every now and then.
Well, I grew up in a not very, but I grew up in a moderately conservative household. So Newgrounds, the stuff from Newgrounds was pretty. It was on my grandmother's radar. So it was like, you better not be on that Newgrounds, or it's like the Faces of Death. So I'm like, but it's not though. No. But like that's such a leap.
Yeah, but just we don't want to dwell too long on just Wario. But the fun thing is like thinking like from a story and character perspective how these guys would play off each other, which I continue to do as I've learned more about writing. Like I think two of my favorites to write are, but first off, their concept is really goofy. Kat and Anna which is they're ninjas who are also like 5. And I'm such a WarioWare fan. I actually would look in like the manuals for little glimmers of character, information. And I got that. Oh, one of them's kind of bossy, the other's kind of shy, and like, okay, we'll play with how they act around each other. And other ones like that. One of my favorites, Dr. Krygor, who's this weird looking bald old dude with like a tight jumpsuit and some cybernetic parts.
Yeah.
Just fun playing with that because like. In one game, you find out he sleeps on top of a toilet. Mm-hmm. And I do like half the voices in it. I'm not a particularly good voice actor, but I still have fun doing it. Like with Krygor, I talk like this, and then I slow the pitch by about 20% to sound older and deeper.
I don't know. I kind of like it. So
yeah, I mean, no. Sometimes I think they come out all right. Sometimes I don't, but it's whatever. And like I said in the past, finding other people do the voices, and actually the girl who I got for Kat, Anna, and 9volt. I love 9volt because he's like a fourth wall breaking character because he's a Nintendo fan. And of course the big fan favorite is Ashley, the little goth witch. Kind of Nintendo's answer to Lydia Dietz when you look at her design.
Gotcha.
And so she plays all 4 of them, and now she's doing some really big stuff. And there's going to be more with that. I'm working on one episode right now that's like the idea of like, the games never say like how Wario met all these people. So let's do a little story about that. And the one I want to do after that, I don't know how I got the idea, but that'll be funny, which is a bunch of them going to court and becomes like an Ace Attorney parody.
Okay.
But Wario, I'm still a big fan of it, the franchise, and I still want to do more with it. I sometimes when I put videos on YouTube, I get commenters still saying, when's the new Wario coming out? Like, it does have something of a fan base, which both surprises and really humbles me.
You know what? It's kind of like me and button mashers. That's.
Oh, you still get some people asking about it?
I still get some people asking about
it. It's cool, isn't it?
I get strangers asking me about it on the internet.
Yeah.
I have friends who just come up to me and be like, okay, so now that you have your other show done, or now that you have your other film thing done, where's button mashers, Chris? And I'm like, God, please, I'm trying.
Me, it's just the internet, because most of the people I showed it to back when I was making it were like family members. But yeah, I'll when there's more done, I'll talk about it. And the other thing is that I actually have started, and you were linking to it. I'm finally getting going with doing like YouTube review and list videos.
Yeah.
I just did a top 5 things from E3 this year. And the gimmick I have going forward is that it's going to be like an animated me when it shows me instead of just a webcam, which is not an exclusive concept. There are plenty of other people you can see do it, but I want to try to put a little more. Like most of the time when I see people do it, like their mouths don't move. There's a few stock poses, and I get it. It takes time, but I'm like, I think I could budget like some poses to reuse, know when to cut away, and one thing I know that outside another side I used to love Spill, which I mentioned briefly with when Tyler was on. That was their gimmick with their reviews. They would show like flash animated versions of themselves talking about movies, but they would do webcam videos where it was their cartoon selves with the their lips covered by the laptop screen.
Yeah.
So it could just be them talking about whatever. And that'd be something I could do for like smaller editorial type videos. And as we brought up earlier, the first thing I'm doing is I'm recording footage and writing a review for the Crash Bandicoot and Sane trilogy.
Ah, cool.
And I also mentioned to you, I think what I want to do after that, and this is kind of happened by chance, is I've kind of been on a Sonic kick. So we're getting close to Mania and Forces. And I started playing the PC version of Generations. Not only does it run awesome, like 60 FPS high res, but people figured out how to mod it. And I want to do a video about all the both awesome and just crazy mods, like different levels, different characters, different features. So that'll be fun.
That would be fun. Like I'm pretty stoked to see it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have that Sonic talk fairly soon,
Definitely.
I think.
Definitely. But when you mention like you see a lot of YouTubers who are just using like just like a still image of like their character pose. In a lot of ways, that kind of works, but
it's good for time.
But only if they kind of like vary up the poses. It's like say like how Aaron does his Ego Raptor with his sequelitis videos. Mm-hmm. Like you really have to be super expressive.
Actually, I haven't watched sequelitis. Ego Raptor I've seen of his like actual animations and game grumps, but not sequelitis.
Sequelitis is really fun. Okay. It's surprising hearing Aaron like shout some knowledge into video games.
He's a smart guy about games.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, but like I would like to see more people like try working with their poses and expressions a bit more instead of using like static flash characters that you can basically just see in the thumbnail.
Static
like,
JPEGs,
mine
is going to be animated. And no, I mean, to be fair, we know this, but not everybody knows this. Look, it doesn't matter how simple your cartoon looks. Doing any sort of actual animation takes a lot of time.
It does. It really
Especially if you do it with like conventional frame by frame for drawing, any sort of stop motion, even CG. Like, yes, that fills in the motions for you, but you still got to tweak that, and you got to intricately model and test everything.
You still have to build and stage the poses.
Yes, there's so much work involved in any sort of animation. And so like, that's why for what I'm doing, I use Toon Boom, which is very much like Flash. And that is, kind of cut out puppet rig animation where you can, for those who don't know how that works, you can you have a timeline with layers, kind of like Adobe Premiere, and you can do different drawings in each layer and connect them to each other. So it's like, if I do a character, here's one for the mouth, here's one for the head, here's one for the arm, here's one for the hand. And you can individually like, all right, move it from this frame to this frame, this way, rotate it this way. And one really great thing is drawing substitution. So like for my mouth, I don't have to redraw the mouth each time. I can just one time draw a different mouth shape and like then click for each frame and be like, okay, switch to this one, reuse. It's kind of the same principles when you look at like the earliest of TV animation, like Hanna-Barbera. They had no money to work with, so they would you would see a lot of the same poses and mouth shapes because that was efficient.
Yeah, and a modern day example would be something like My Little Pony, which I think uses Toon Boom Harmony now. Instead of Flash like it used to. And even though there is some frame by frame animation that they put into,
it's mostly twins.
Yeah,
I'm not a brony. I'm completely indifferent to the show as its own in the brony movement, but it does look pretty nice from a visual standpoint.
Yeah,
like they know what they're doing.
I'm kind of excited about the movie. I'm not even going to apologize.
I watched the trailer. It does have some very nice. It's a genuine visual upgrade.
Okay, can I just give like a very, very small tangent here? Like whoever's animating like the full frame animation, like the animation like entirely on that trailer. But whoever's animating the villains, holy shit, the villains look fucking awesome.
I actually like the Michael Pena sidekick you see in that trailer.
Okay. Yeah, he's the porcupine guy.
Whatever he is, but he's like, I love pie. But I like Michael Pena, so... but also, no, my main takeaway from that trailer is that I want the song they use in it. It's not out, because apparently it's made for the movie. I'm not going to see the movie, but I want that song.
Yeah, but anyway, in like terms of animation, like even something like My Little Pony, I mean, people give animation a bad rap. This shit takes time.
Mm-hmm.
it's
even the bad-looking ones take time.
That's absolutely right.
Right. But so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of experimentation going forward with how I handled the reviews and like my cartoon self. But I think we should probably get on to, and that actually ties into an old project of yours.
Oh boy, a 20-year celebration game featuring, wait for it, Sonic the Hedgehog!
Most of those years were filled with mediocre masturbatory marketing. There was no lube.
Hey man, I like Black Guy the Hedgehog, okay?
How? Explain yourself!
Taught me how to be a real thug, you job turkey.
That's not even what the game was about.
And those golden rings I collected went to help support my community.
Are you bootlegging Scarface?
Yeah! Playing Shadow the Hedgehog or watching Scarface do not make you black.
Oh man.
Yeah. So around 2011, 2012, I had an idea where I essentially was going to do like you did and use my cartoon characters for a video game review series called Button Mashers, where I had like two of my older characters from a long time ago just get up and review games in their apartments. And they were supposed to be, I tried to repurpose them as some kind of hodgepodge reject video game mascots or whatever, which is, to be honest, it's essentially what they are. They're Sonic recolors.
It's like a dog and a raccoon, right?
Yeah. That's I wanted. This was around the time when I had an idea for another series, and I wasn't sure whether or not. Well, I had two paths. I was like, okay, do I want to become a full-time YouTuber, or do I want to try and get a job somewhere in my area? And jobs were super scarce in that era.
It was middle of the recession, pretty much.
Yeah, and they're still not very prevalent at this point.
No,
either.
but they're better than.
Yeah, but at that point, I was really like, okay, I can either go this YouTube route, or I can just get a job somewhere else
and pay the bills, because being a YouTuber is risky if you want to do it for a living.
Yeah, and as luck would have it, like Mondo Media was doing this. They were doing this pitch us a cartoon thing for a while. So I was like, okay, I got an idea. Just pitch out. Just let me just take my old characters, reformat them into a video game kind of deal, and then toss it out to these guys and see what they think. And they kind of liked it. They thought that it wasn't for them, but they were definitely open for me to keep pitching them ideas until one stuck. So I was like, cool, I'll keep doing that. And I really went gung-ho about this. So I had a raccoon named AJ who was like, he just lost his job. And he was like, I will show the gaming world. I was going to review all the games in the world and then talk about how bad they are, because I'm the best at games. And his best friend, roommate, Needles, who's just the best thing ever. He's just some irreverent asshole that lives with him. And he's a green dog for some reason. I don't know.
It's cartoon. It's fine.
Yeah. So it was done in a very puppeted Flash kind of way, and I really wanted to do something with it. But these characters actually existed like way before Button Mashers. I had an idea where these guys were basically going to road trip across America. Awesome. Yeah. But they're
AJ Needles to America.
Yeah. Well, there's like a giant theme to this where AJ's car would essentially transform into a weapon. It'll be like a giant sword, and it would be like and it will transform into different things for different drivers. So for AJ, it'll be a sword. For Needles, it'll be a suit of armor. For this other character, Minko, it would be basically a giant fucking gun. Cool. Yeah, and they would just go around and just fight the system. It was bad, but it was something that I could have fun with. That was essentially my idea. It was called Road Trip Revelations, and at that point, I was like, okay, let's trim down the idea just a tad and just a little. Make it into something else. Just a little bit.
Going from all over the country fighting the system to playing video games on the couch.
Yeah, and that's essentially where it was. And a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
But deep down, I was like, this isn't really what I wanted these characters to be.
Right.
But
I still force something you don't like.
Yeah, and I still kept getting people asking me, "Where's Button Mashers?"
Yeah. Is it still online on your channel?
It is still online, actually.
Because you did one for Sonic Generations, right?
I did one and only one.
The main thing I remember is the observation: who puts saw blades on a truck?
Yeah, like oh my god, Sonic Generations was so good. I mean, for me it was.
No, I loved it. That's why I'm playing it with mods.
Yeah, and that truck sequence where when it like barrels through San Francisco and for some reason has rockets and chainsaws.
Yeah,
that shit was amazing.
Yep.
Like I still have good vibes from that.
Both Adventure 2 and Generations clearly gloss over how many civilians it just mowed down.
Yeah. Like the body count was up and families were lost. But after that, I was going to follow up with an episode on Journey. And I had the character designs done, and I had a couple backgrounds done. I'm sure there's art on my Facebook on it. Like I was definitely working on it. And I have audio tracks on what these guys are going to talk about as far as Journey was concerned, and it was fun. I actually had a friend of mine, Marty Walker, and he's done a lot of like animations out in Canada and in Georgia. Mm-hmm. He was working for Bento Box at some point.
And those guys who did Bob's Burgers, right?
Yeah. And it worked. He helped me out for a little bit. It worked out really well, but I never really got to finish it. And
it happens.
I was kind of bummed out because at that point, after Button Mashers 1 came out, I got a job, like an actual legit job that I'm still working at to this day. And it was actually a blessing in disguise. But Button Mashers, as much as I'm fond of it, but at the same time, it's not where I originally wanted to go with it. So that kind of.
Do you think you could ever conceivably like repurpose those characters for another project?
I would like to go back to what they originally were made for, which was that road trip Revelations story.
Okay, the one you said was stupid.
Yeah, well, not stupid, but I guess it was kind of stupid. But
you could repurpose it.
Well, it was fun. That idea, I felt like I could really build like I not necessarily a gigantic theme, but there was a lot more room to play around with. Like, who doesn't like transforming weapons?
Yeah. And actually, that kind of ties into, maybe we should make another transition to the big one I wanted to bring up.
Yeah,
that sounds really egotistical. Well, not to make it about me, but
it's
in
all
terms
good.
of just a project evolving over time, definitely my like baby in terms of like passion project cartoons I want to make. Granted, it's not really one you can see yet. I might try and put like some preview clips up in a private YouTube video and post the link in this description. It's a little thing called Spacious.
Hey, hi, I just put myself out there. Name's Jed. I've taken on a lot of odd tasks over the years, and between you and me, I've seen most of the galaxy, so I should be able to take on any job you throw at me.
No one will want to hire you with a bedroom like that, though.
Think so?
It's pretty unprofessional.
I came up with it like 16 years ago. I've been one way or another working on or brainstorming the Spacious for over half my life.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it means a lot to me, these characters in this world. And you had some questions about it. Should I just say what the general premise is first?
Yeah, go for it. Because one of my questions is, what is your general premise for Spacious?
Spacious is the best genre for it is a sci-fi action adventure with a dramedy vibe, a lot of comedy, but something that would like start out more lighthearted and then transition into more serious plot lines, but still preserving humor and heart. Humor and heart. Preserving is not a word.
Preserving, kind of like how Futurama preserved.
Yeah. Okay. And actually, Futurama is a major inspiration in terms of where I could want to go, though with a more serious actual plot to it.
Okay.
The gist of it would be it's like follows this a group of 4. 2 of them are humans or Earthlings. The show never focused on Earth though. It's like far future, mankind spread out across the universe, a lot of aliens and such. So because I love the sci-fi trapping because it just where you can go and what you can do with the world's technology are like just sky's the limit on your imagination as long as you make some rules for the world. So it's a group of 4. These 2 sisters. One of them is named Leslie, who's someone like mid-20s, kind of a mechanic, technology enthusiast, who lost her parents and is now having to take care of her little sister Kiki, who's about 10. And they have ended up sharing their spaceship house and a workload with an alien named Jed, who is he's like he ages slower. So the idea would be that like he's 50 in human years, but like less is Leslie's age and appearance. And he's been doing a bunch of temp work throughout the universe, which means he's done so many temp jobs that he often is able to offer help with various tasks one way or another. So like the first episode would be like, well, Leslie gets hired to fix the extermination security hardware for this farmer, and Jed is able to start working on, okay, what's the root cause of the attack and the predators.
Okay.
And the fourth and final one is a robot named Roscoe, who was the first one I came up with.
Yeah, I have a picture of these guys.
Yeah, you have a picture of him.
Cool.
And he, really simple, he came with the ship, he was in the closet, and he has his own backstory. He's actually super old, like millennia. So part of his dilemma is dealing with the fact that he's very outdated. But he's kind of like a sweeter Rosie the Robot type thing. He's built for house services, cooking, cleaning, but he also he's a nice guy. And so he can help the others, at least with conversation, because he's kind of a coward when shit hits the fan.
Okay.
And so, the series starts out with the, day-to-day escapades and evolves into a more overarching story with, like, a villain and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's what you would like to do with this story, essentially.
That's the setup, at least, yes.
Okay. So let me think. You've already answered, like, one of my other questions, like, who is this story for? And basically people who like dramedies. And,
I would say the best comparison I can make in terms of mainstream Western cartoons is something like Avatar or Korra.
Ah, okay.
Like jumping between episodes and moments that are silly and like genuinely heavy stuff.
Okay.
But nothing too overbearing, I guess.
So you're still developing the idea. What is and this is a bit of a generic question, but what was the moment that you found when you're developing this story? What was the moment that you were like, yeah, this could work? What was that moment?
I don't know if I can narrow it down to one single moment. There's been a bunch of little ones, like in terms of the characters themselves. Like I had to start thinking, like, I have like initial gimmicks for them, but there has to be like what drives them. Like Jed is someone who is kind of a toned down version of someone like Rick from Rick and Morty. Not a pure asshole, but just someone he can be very lazy, apathetic, and even greedy, but he does truly care for these other people and have a good heart. I mean, obviously, he'd have to be that way if they wanted to stay with him. But he is someone who is visibly flawed, and he's someone who tries to act lackadaisical about so many things, but it's because he has some real regrets in how he's handled his life up in previous points.
Gotcha.
And Leslie, she's the kind of the head of the group and kind of someone who's good-hearted and responsible, but she feels a lot of the burdens of life on her in terms of stress and worrying about what she's capable of. She has some self-doubt that I've got to make a living for myself. I've got to raise my sister since the parents are gone, and just dealing with a lot of insecurities that many people deal with. Yeah. And Kiki even, like the first thing I come up with her just for fun is that she has a crush on Jed, and obviously Jed cannot stand her in the slightest.
Yeah.
And she makes no efforts in hiding that, and he makes no effort in hiding, like, leave me alone. But I was like, well, what else? And then another thing, I think I just putting a little bit of like my own interest in the characters. She wants to be an artist.
My recent pieces include a pretty starlit sky, a sparkling crystal cave, and actually, I don't remember what that one is. A flaming sun? Or maybe just some spicy food. I don't know.
And so she spends a lot of her time using the hollow pen, because I'm trying to do a little bit of like, integrating future technology and ideas. So she has like a light up pen that can draw like neon things that hover in the air indefinitely.
Okay.
And Roscoe, he doesn't have that so much, except just dealing with the feelings of age. He is technically the oldest of them, and he has to deal with what happened in his life before as well. But one other thing I want to talk about that is still in the early stages compared to all the ideas, because there are other characters that I didn't even bring up, but I will talk about it some other time. That opens up over time, the world of the show. But I'm trying to. One thing that's really important for me to be setting up is atmosphere.
Yeah.
And which is tough because I specialize in character drawings, not environments, but I've been practicing to draw like where the places they can go to. What's the vibe? Just something ethereal and otherworldly, something that get you sucked in and make it feel unique. There's like a handful of things like I've watched or played that accomplish that in a way that's hard to put into words. I don't know if you've had that feeling.
Anything you got in mind
for the world?
Yeah.
Well, one thing like I was saying is talking about like the technology, where the idea is like you wouldn't use wallpaper for almost anything. So like you could put like little holograms with a little battery on a bulletin board. You can just have like a wristband to do wireless money payments to another wristband or something. Like Leslie's main tool, instead of just a wrench or just a big thing, it's like a base that materializes different tools at the top half of it.
Okay.
And other stuff. Actually, one thing that I'm trying to work out because of the tricky world of YouTube copyrights is music. And some crazy inspirations for it. But like one thing I think people got to value is a good theme song to any sort of show. And I got to the point where I actually found like this little duo on YouTube a couple years back and said, hey, here's $1,000 in the show concept, make a minute-long theme song, which I'll play in the background now of this episode. And they did great. I sent them some like sample songs, like here's the vibe, and did this great little 1-minute song. Did I tell you about them already?
I think you may have mentioned it.
So they started out as a duo called Adapt Music. You can find them on YouTube. They haven't updated in years, but they would do cover songs of various pop and rock songs, and it was awesome. And now they're in a proper indie band called A World Away. I love their sound. Like their guitarist, it does have this like otherworldly sound that you would associate with space, and their singer has like so much passion in his voice. They're killer. But one other thing I'm trying to toy with, because like something I'm doing is I've been finding websites to buy the royalty-free music. Like there's a site called Pond Fire. You can buy visuals and audio. You pay a one-time fee, and then you just use them in videos. This is the most out of the blue one because it's kind of recent. But something I love the idea of that has basically almost never been done is cartoon series having like their own unique songs associated with them. But I'm not talking musical numbers. I'm talking like actual, pop rock songs that you'd hear on the radio. And I kind of came with this idea when I rediscovered a show that I watched as a kid called The Raccoons. You ever see that?
I do remember The Raccoons, yeah.
It's a pretty run-of-the-mill show, but one of the things that's genuinely awesome about it is, I don't know how it happened, but the guy who made it, I guess he had friends, so he made like an actual like 80s rock and pop soundtrack of songs that would play in the background. I don't know, it just adds to the mood.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do stuff like that for Spacious. I actually have a friend of mine from college, Ryan, who's like, here's a bunch of songs I've worked on, and you can use them, and stuff like that. And that's what I'm talking about. That adds to the personality of it, like to accentuate the mood, to accentuate emotions. And there's a lot I want to do with Spacious, and granted, it's not going to look amazing out of the gate, or maybe ever, because if you want to do multiple episodes, then I got to stick with the rigs animation and just being able to get things out at equal time. But and the last thing I'll say about it, unless you have any other questions, I've already got some cool voice talent for it. I got one actor or actress for each gender in the main roles. Leslie and Kiki are being played by a girl named Kaylee Mills, who is actually she's another living in LA doing it professionally. A lot of indie productions, but let me pull up right now. She's actually she's been hyping up on Twitter. She's going to be in the English dub for a recent anime called Occultic 9.
Occultic 9.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but she's one of the leads, and I think it's her first lead role, so I'm excited for her. And
I keep hearing that name come up, but
it's from the creator of Steins Gate, apparently.
Okay, all right.
So it's probably got some hype behind it. And for Jed and what did I say about Kaylee? Not only has she been super supportive about the project, she did a great thing where, once I paid her, she was like, hey, add me on Skype and you can direct me over a conversation. So she does high-quality recordings of Kiki and Leslie, and I can say, like, do it more like this, do it less like that.
I'm hearing a lot of creators are doing that a lot more often.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like if they want to like develop their own thing, I know Chris Niosi has done that.
Yes, well, he's a voice director in general.
Yeah. That's amazing in and of itself.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. I really like him. But
I mean, so that's a thing to do nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think I have it in me to be voice director, but it helps for some, like if you have a passion project like this, to be hands on like that.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about those characters is like, I'm trying to be very conscious of, like, she even asked me, like, so is Kiki meant to be like annoying? Is she meant to be a raptor? It's like, no, there are way too many characters who just get on your nerves and just are assholes. Yeah. I'm like, no, it's still kind of a tricky balance there, but I'm like, she needs to seem real. There should be moments where she knows to be. There should be moments where, like, no, she can be as capable as the others. We'll talk more about those characters. But the other one for both Jed and Roscoe, another indie guy named Patrick M. Seymour.
Patrick N. Seymour.
I don't think he's been in like AAA like stuff, but he is super busy. If you look up his indie roles, there's like a very popular Minecraft Machinima series he's a regular in. Okay. I found out about him through a cool indie game. Did you ever play Freedom Planet?
Yes, I do. Yes, I have.
He's Torque.
He's Torque? Get out.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's funny because his actual voice is a lot deeper. So like the one he uses for Jed is deeper, and then the one he uses for Roscoe is higher than that or Torque.
Cool.
He's got some good range on him, and a very funny guy if you look up his like Twitter and stuff. Like or his YouTube, he does like comic fan dubs. I remember one I saw where he dubbed Mario and Toad, and he did the Toad voice like Mario. What's the scariest thing you've ever happened to you? And Mario goes pianos, and it shows the Mario 64 piano.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he's been really supportive about the project too. Nothing about directly on Skype yet, but maybe when we get back. So to finish up Spacious, I've recorded and I'm currently animating a promo short. Since I know a full episode would take all that much longer, so it's kind of like practice animating the character rigs for the first time because making the rigs has taken forever, obviously. And it's the idea of like everybody but Roscoe trying to record like a little ad to put on like the YouTube equivalent. Like Jed's like, here's all my skills. Leslie's like, here's what I can do with repairs. And Kiki, being naive, is like, I'm a 10-year-old putting up my drawings for online critique from anonymous people. And when Roscoe, who's filming, points that out, she's like, it's anonymous comments. How bad can they be? And then Leslie deletes the video and she's not looking. And is like, it got corrupted. It's deleted. Yeah, it's gone forever. Sorry. Kiki's response is, well, good excuse to make another.
Oh, poor child. No. Poor child. Don't.
So naive.
No.
But yes, I will talk more about Spacious when there's more to say. But we do have one more thing to talk about, and this is something that everybody can actually watch, and I've been linking to in recent episodes. Chris, let's talk about The Will of Monsters.
Not every day some fathead monster headbutts you from the sky.
Okay, I really don't need some noodle arm chick calling me names right now. If you can't pull me up, just say so.
Did you just call me a noodle-armed chick?
Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm gonna let him fall. But if you just look deep down...
Nope.
Holy crap!
Yeah, let's talk about this giant
Yes. When you first told me that you were working on this, I thought, you was like, I'm doing a short with my character. I'm like, oh, cool, a little 6 minutes. No, it's like 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's 45 minutes.
It's a featurette.
I'm an insane person, okay?
Well, granted, it's an animatic, which is, for those who don't know, it's not fully animated. It's like a storyboard with various drawings, but not frame-by-frame thing. But still.
It's a rough draft.
Still.
It's...
When did you start working on that? Actual?
Wow.
Because the characters, you had other projects them originally.
Yeah,
Actually, go ahead, Chris. You lead the talk. This is your baby.
Oh, okay. Well, feel free to ask me questions, too.
Okay.
Because...
What was the genesis of this project?
Okay, the genesis. All right, can I be real with you? This was I made this project on a bet. Okay, what? I made this project 10 years ago on a bet with my younger brother, Tyrone.
I did not know that.
We kicked around the idea of making our own cartoons and stuff, and at the time I was like, Tyrone, I call him Justin. I was like, Justin, I want to make my own cartoon studio. And he was like, yeah. I want to come up with some ideas. And it was like, yeah. I'm like, get this, Magic Hobo. And he's like, I feel you, Magic Hobo.
I guess technically the characters still are.
Well, and the thing is, like, we were like, okay, here's what we're going. We're going to take a week each, like separate from one another and develop the idea of Magic Hobos. All right. He was like, yeah. All right, cool. So we took a week. And we came back together, and it was like, here's my idea for Magic Hobo. And he essentially came up with what is now his long-running comic, Elements of Light. And that was just off that idea, which was merged with another idea he had. Mm-hmm. That was like a Japanese RPG kind of offshoot. And so I came back, and I was like, okay, I got this Hanna-Barbera idea where these two friggin' Halloween, they were like Halloween beanbags at the time. Okay. These Halloween beanbag characters are trying to like get a ride somewhere, and for exchange of like hitchhiking, of getting a ride, with their thumbs all out and everything, they would perform a magic trick. And the more I talked about it like that, I was like, this is a dumb fucking idea. But at the time, I was like, okay, I really like the Hanna-Barbera-esque nature of it, where it's basically, I have one tall character who is essentially the brains of the bunch, who's the more optimistic, this is where we're going to go this time, boo-boo. And the younger, smaller one is like, I don't know about this asshole.
Okay, that's
we're
funny, because they
stealing
kind of
from people.
switched that in the finished product.
Yeah. But by this point, I was like, I was working as a temp. Mm-hmm. So I was with a temp agency. I was working in some kind of sleep clinic, and it was such a weird sleep clinic too, where there were apparently, while I was kind of goofing off on my own, like trying to develop these characters, this sleep clinic was basically stealing people's information. And I was like in the filing room. It was a good thing I was kind of procrastinating at the time, because all this was happening beyond my knowledge. So I was like, dude, now they're scarecrows, as I was typing on my laptop. Thanks
for procrastination.
Yeah, thank God for that. And the more I developed it, I was like, I kind of like this. This tall character is now a scarecrow. He's made out of straw. He throws flash bombs to make magic tricks happen in order to get kids to throw him money. And the kid and his little kid sidekick is like, all right, so I get to bring the kids over, and we get to basically make the show for them. That's cool. And it kind of built from there. I made a thing. I knew that there needed to be a third character in there at some point, and I thought it needs to be offset with something else, someone else, maybe a girl, maybe of a different race or a different species altogether.
Right.
But I definitely wanted to keep the vibe of the Halloween-ness to it, and I was
paranormal.
Like, yeah. I was like, I gotta create my own kind of scary who's that's a word. Walla walla wub wub. Whatever Rick and Morty says.
Wubba dub dub.
Wubba dub dub. I wanted to create my own like little Halloween shtick. So Pi came along.
Who was a witch for those?
She was a witch. Yep. Pi came along. She was a witch. She had at the time the scarf around her neck. Right now it's an enchanted silkworm. Back then it was an enchanted tapeworm. And I didn't really think about it. I just wanted to throw everything at the wall and see what stuck. I was
throw tapeworms at the wall.
Yeah, I was like, it's got to be bizarre. It's got to be weird. Like, whoa, no way, no one would pick this up. It was, man. Those early days were something else.
Well, you did do some. You worked on projects involving them back in the day. I think that's actually how I first got to know you outside of like us being classmates. Because like full disclosure, like when we were going to school together, we didn't talk to each other that often. It was very casual. And then later on, like you started doing meetups and stuff. I also found out because you had Todd, my old roommate, work on this stuff with you. He's a very talented artist. Look him up, Todd Churn.
Todd's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and so that's when you were showing like clips of. You envisioned this like a little series for them. And that tapered off, but obviously you still want to do stuff with them, and you kind of it's a Will of Monsters is basically a reboot from that idea, right?
Yeah. When I was working with Todd at the time, this was around the 2010 2011 era. I basically when I became comfortable with these guys, I was like, it is now called Pumpkin Jam and Pie.
Yes.
That's how it's called. That's how everyone will name it. And everyone will remember it every day. And no one remembered that name.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, I essentially came up with that name because I had fond memories of eating pumpkin jam when my grandfather took me and my brother to this timeshare in like, okay. I forget where it's at.
I didn't actually know what the pun was with Chan's names. I did know Pie was probably talking about the food, and she actually referenced that in the finished short because her scarf is named Raspberry. So she's like, we're like Raspberry Pie. Oh, you don't like jokes.
Waka waka waka. No. So we I had fond memories of that, and I was like, Pumpkin Jam and Pie, everybody's going to remember that. And I made a YouTube series out of it, but the problem was I wrote that script for that YouTube series in a day. And that is the worst fucking thing you can do as a writer.
Get rushed?
Well, the reason why I rushed it, not that it's a better excuse, is that there was a script writing competition happening in Maryland. And to be blunt, I was a little overconfident in my abilities as a script writer. Like, I've been writing scripts since I was 12. Like, as soon as I figured out that there was a format that you can actually write movies in, I was like, I'm learning it. I can do it. Yeah.
I've been writing since I was 4 because I remember I wrote a little book for my mom around Christmas time, and the conflict was a bunch of like Sesame Street characters. Somebody called. I'll be quick. Somebody called them and said, "You have to hurry and come quick. The Christmas tree is falling."
Oh God.
Chapter 2, the Christmas tree falls, and the Christmas tree started falling, but then somebody caught it and it was okay.
Let that be a lesson to you kids.
That epic harrowing tale of the Christmas tree falling over.
Harrowing tale.
But it was okay.
Everyone lived, or did they? No, I mean, I've been writing for a long time, since I was a kid. I loved it. It was practically the only subject in school that I excelled at. And when I found out that you can actually make movies writing actual scripts and stuff, I was like, yes, I can do that. So the script writing competition came up when I was a young man, and I was like, I can write the shit out of that. I can write the shit out of anything in a night. And I did that, and it was a dumb fucking. It was the dumbest fucking decision I ever made in my professional career.
Whoops. So I guess the harder you worked on the project, the more you realized the script wasn't working.
The more I realized there were so many holes in it, dude. Like it was okay. So number one, Pi doesn't show up at all in the YouTube series. That really confused people. People were like, well, "Who's Pi? Where's Pi?"
Yeah, I remember assuming she was going to show up in a later episode, and she never did.
That was my main plan, but I took it to the screenwriting competition, and it was basically like scripts, DC scripts or something. And at the time, what essentially they would do is they would have actors come up and they would act out the scenes as they read your script, and the crowd loved it. They were because the actors really got into it. They brought a lot of energy into it, and they had a great time. The judges fucking hated it though. The judges were like, "Why is there a narrator?"
Imagine Simon Cowell being like, "Scarecrows. Nobody wants to hear that.
No one's going to buy this dreadfully awfully dreadful shite."
It's a no for me.
Oh, they hated it. They essentially were like, "Look, you got to pick a theme or something. Pick a storytelling device. You got a narrator. Watch some Tom and Jerry or something." And I was like, "Tom and Jerry? What?" There's like 3 times they've ever used the narrator. What are they talking about?
Oh wait, they were talking about with a narrator?
Yeah. Well, at the time, Pumpkin Jam and Pie had a narrator.
I mean, the judges were citing Tom and Jerry as cartoons that use a narrator.
They were citing Tom and Jerry.
What the hell?
Yeah, it was weird. What the takeaway that I got from that little experience is that there's something wrong with this. They just can't put their finger on it. And so that meant that there was something intrinsically wrong, formulaic. There was something formulaically wrong with Pumpkin Jam and Pie. So, and that took a lot for me to.
We should get to like the actual short, I guess. So
and I'm sorry, I'm going on a long tangent.
It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah, but the impetus for The Will of Monsters, the reboot to Pumpkin Jam and Pie, was that I had to come to terms with the fact that I was not as good as I thought I was in writing. And not only that, I was relying on other people to animate this, when what I should have done was exercise my actual abilities that I learned from school and get them up to snuff so I can actually tell a better story. So I wrote down all the things that were wrong with Pumpkin Jam and Pie. I wrote down, look, the sound design needs work. That's number one. You can't have a good animation without good sound. That's automatic. Especially these days.
Right.
If you're going to use narrator, you cannot be on the nose about it. And I was pretty much using like the bodiless narrator who's like, this is the story of 3 people.
Right.
Yeah. And that was okay. No, it was not the best decision. Let me be honest.
It was not okay.
But what's a good example? Cubo. Did you see Cubo and the 2 strings?
Kubo and 2 strings, not Cubone and the 2 strings.
Cubone and the Cubone and the 2 strings, starring Ash Ketchum.
Now I know why you want my mother's skull.
Oh God! It went to a darker place.
Somehow. Anyway,
but did you see it?
Yes.
Okay. There's an opening narration to that, and it wasn't like the whimsical animation trope that we know of to this day, where you made where it's like you have the protagonist basically voicing their own story, where it's like
it's a cliche to be like, this is me.
Yeah, this is me.
Ever since Ratatouille did it well, they've been like, everybody else do it.
Well, even before Ratatouille, Tangled did it.
Tangled was after Ratatouille.
Tangled was after Ratatouille?
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. So Tangled did it. Ratatouille did it. Fucking the Croods did it.
Yep.
Master Megamind did it. And I enjoyed Megamind.
I think Megamind's underrated as DreamWorks movies go. It's very witty.
It really is. But there were times, but I had to look at that and then look at when I finally saw how Kubo did it. I was like, by that point, everything was written down. The reboot was rewritten. Characters, Pi was brought in like in the animatic. Pi's like one of the first things you see. Like she shows right the fuck up.
Making up for past
making up for past mistakes for sure.
Here she is. Happy?
But Pi is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. All 3 of the characters are really. I think I told you this is not biased because you're my buddy. I was really impressed with the writing in this thing.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
We've both talked on this show and to ourselves about how important character and heart and depth and substance is to story and conflict, and most of the story is driven by the conflict between the 3 leads.
Yeah, that was hard to do. It was something that I knew I had to do at some point when I was working on PC Pi from the outset, but I kept putting off the good stuff, and that's always a bad sign, whether it's in film or in animation. When you're writing a story, and DC suffers from this in their films too, and I'm not trying to compare, but essentially they do this a lot, where they're saying, now that this is over, the good stuff is coming in Justice League. Just you wait. And I'm like, but I was supposed to be impressed now, and I did. And I did that exact fucking thing in PC Pi. And God, I said I wasn't going to compare, and I just did. Shit, I sound like an asshole. Fuck.
You are very untrustworthy.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I didn't mean to be a snob, but I say that out of experience,
right?
Because that's really an easy hole to fall in when you're developing a story that has a giant encircling story around it. When you know you're going to have a backstory, when you know you got essential world building to do, it's very easy to say, okay, here it is. Not yet, back off.
Yeah. The overall tone of it feels a bit more grim than what you originally had planned too, at least from the sorts I saw. Like the character of Pumpkin's self he was much more jovial and jokey in that original. And this, this world is dangerous. He's a much more grizzled and cautious fella.
Yeah, I definitely had to play that up a little bit more because I didn't have a very good sense of. I had an idea of what I wanted to do with Pump and Cham in PC Pi, but unfortunately, because I kept putting off those scenes when they were together and how they fought together and how they argued with one another, or even how they agreed with one another, I never really made it so that this guy could essentially act as this kid's dad when his dad's not around.
Yeah, he is the father figure from what we see.
Yeah, he's not biologically Cham's father, but he's trying to act as the father figure. Even though that he's essentially just a teacher, the mentor, the guy who signed all the Guardian forms and the permission slips.
Here's how you use Flash. Oh, and you voiced both the Scarecrows in it.
Yeah. I actually did try to get someone for Pump. Pump, I have to admit, I did my very best Liam Neeson impression.
I just saw it as your voice, but deeper and more serious.
And well, the trick about that, the trick with doing Pump was that I first had to voice Cham. Cham is much easier to voice.
Cham is basically your voice on this show when you get either really excited or upset about something. Like, I can totally imagine Cham going, I don't want a holographic wife.
I don't want a holographic wife.
There we go.
That's exactly it. But because I tire out my voice with Cham, I can switch down to Pump when I'm a little bit more, when I'm a little less energetic,
less taxing on the vocal cords.
Yeah. And that way, because me doing Pump, which is a little bit more taxing, but at the same time, a little less work. Like I had to do a lot less. I had to do a lot less recordings with Pump, but I got a little bit more out of it because I did a whole bunch of takes with Cham that I could actually lower my voice a little bit heavy, a little bit more heavier, and lots of lemon tea. That's and that's something that I need to get better at doing, because if I want this to be a thing in the future, I can't do both voices. That's absolute. And I tried to get someone else to do Pump, but I was running out of money.
Right. I think you said, is the voice of Pi in that it's a temp one?
Pi is voiced by Sheila M. Lin, and she is the temp actress for Pi at the moment.
Are you eyeing someone else, or how's that working?
Actually, when I first did Pumpkin Cham and Pie, I met an actress named Michelle Allegra Murad, and she, when I say that the actors came up and they nailed that, shit, she nailed that shit. Nice. She was essentially, and the funny thing is, she was basically being Punk. She was playing the super jovial, super energetic role, and I loved the shit out of it. Like when I saw her play as Pump, I was like, she could really play Pie. Like she can really play this energetic but really sad 14-year-old girl.
So are you still intending to get her back?
Yes, that's the plan.
Cool.
And she's and she says she's down for it, but I gotta say, it's been so long that I felt really bad about the first time around not going as well as planned.
I mean, like, better late than never.
Yeah. I hope she's not too upset with me.
Oh, you haven't reached out to her?
Oh, well, I have, and she says she's down. She's down.
Yeah, she's willing to do it. I think, yeah.
Yeah, it still kind of sucks. It's taken me this long.
It happens.
Yeah, well, it does happen, but it's also I see this a lot with a lot of budding creators, and I've butt heads with a couple of them on certain animation groups on Facebook, where they're like, I'm going to change the industry. I'm a hotshot writer, but
I can do it all on my own.
Yeah, you need other people. Animation is not in very rare cases you can lift the entire workload on your own. But at some point, you're going to damage yourself. That guy who made Nova Seed hurt his hand animating the entire thing.
I mean, then there are lucky exceptions, like the Brothers Chaps.
Yeah.
Homestar was all those two guys, but they founded a legit careers off of it.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have to know where your limitations are,
right?
And you have to be willing to exercise what you're lacking in.
I don't want to try and totally dominate the picture. That's something I'm keeping in mind with Spacious.
Really,
like trying to figure out when do I want to do more intricate animations and walking in different environments. What's the best way to conserve without just making it seem like no effort?
Yeah, that's a tough rope to walk.
Right. And that's why I'm conceivably I might not finish this show till I'm 60 or something, but I'm hey, I gotta try.
Well, luckily, because there are so many advanced animators who came out of the Newgrounds era of the internet, that nowadays they're like, look, we've developed a myriad of techniques that you can copy off or that you can learn from.
Regular collaborators like Studio Yada. That's all basically Newgrounds type animators doing awesome group work.
Well, it's not just them either. You've heard of Harry Partridge, right?
Yes.
I had no idea that he actually has an animation tutorial set online on YouTube.
Oh.
Like, it's called Hoo Ha 2.
I thought you were going to say he has a whole team do his shorts.
No. I think he partners up with a couple of people every now and then.
Probably, yeah.
But from what I found, like, he has like a nice 12 episode series of, like, if you're going into animation and you're working with Flash, here are the steps that you can follow. You don't have to follow them all. I mean, you should get a good understanding of how they work.
Does this cost anything?
No, it's free. Just jump on YouTube. I'll link you.
I'll look it up when we're done.
Yeah, there's that. There's animation. There's animation classes like Animation Mentor. There's Alan Beck. There's Toniko Pantoja
You need to
on
let me know some of
Gumroad.
these. I was not aware.
Yeah,
I definitely need some more practice with drawing animated.
I will link the shit out of you.
Cool. But I also wanted to ask about Will of Monsters because I mentioned there were like so much of its conflict brewed between the three characters and their circumstances. Are there any like themes or messages in particular you're trying to get across with it?
Oh, definitely. Well, there's a theme that we all think we know everything just because we either A, experienced, or B, we just come from a very traumatic place in our perspective. And a lot of these are justified, but we never really take into account the hurts and the bullshit that other people have to go through. We may have our own individual prejudices, but we need to get the fuck over them.
That's the big thing I was getting is showing some of the effects of prejudice.
Yeah, that's definitely there.
It's Zootopia with scarecrows, basically. No.
Basically, it's when I first made PC Pie, I was going for the Halloween thing. I really wanted to be. I really
the old
wanted
one just looked like straight up like adventure or paranormal comedy almost.
Yeah, that's what I was shooting for. But in this one, I said I need to tone back on the Halloween aspects of this. This needs to act more as a standalone film, and less like a haunted house adventure you see.
It's still there a bit, like pumpkins. Like there are like they spend like part of the movie on a giant pumpkin. The villains are a bunch of crows. But yes, it's not the focus.
Yeah, it's more of. It's instead of treating it as a heavy aesthetic, it's more like a moderate to light aesthetic where these people may live in a Halloween-esque world, but it's less about scaring one another and doing trick-or-treaty kind of stuff and more about, hey, you're my neighbor, then you need to act like it.
Yeah, in this world, the crows are more scary than the scarecrows.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it was like that in PC Pie too.
But even more so, I guess.
More so here. The main thing that I really had to start thinking about was when I made PC Pie, and I keep saying that like 1,000 times, and I know I'm irritating people, but I thought about it as more of like a series.
Right.
When the idea of Twom came around, I started thinking of it as film. So I started and I love film. I love movies. I live and drink this stuff. I work as a cameraman at work, and I'm the lead photographer. I had to think in shots all the time. So when it came to this film, I started really analyzing all the things that I've learned in film, like as much film convention that I learned in college, all the stuff that I learned from film as a young man, and what film can be as it relates to our culture. So that meant that I really needed to buckle down and study what are the tropes that follow along this kind of adventure, and I really have to. If I'm going to use cliches, I need to use them well.
Right. Cliches can be done well.
Yeah. If I'm not going to subvert them, then what can I do to at least entertain the audience?
Yeah.
Or keep them engaged at some point.
Yeah.
And that's something that took a lot of book reading, but at some point it has to go from book reading to actual application. And at some point I said, if I'm going to start rewriting it all together, I cannot write a script, because number one, animation companies these days, they go from storyboard and then they try to write it out for their actors. but I've relied on script writing as a crutch for too long, and that's what really hurt me the first time. So
John Kay would not like you.
I don't care.
No, I don't
either. What I essentially did was I wrote a shot list, and it's still kind of a script, but more in terms of this is shot one. What sequence A? What does shot one do? It's a fade in, tilt down to said character, yada yada yada. In actual scripts, you don't put camera moves in. You set up the scene. You give a general overview of what characters.
And that's
will be
been my
doing.
approach to Spacious stuff. Is more of a script type thing. Maybe once I do like the first full episode, I'll try and do more of the actual technical layout in terms of writing.
Yeah, the shot list really did help me out a lot more because it helped me to stay away as much as possible from breaking the 180 rule or from staging characters too awkwardly where it started creating weird fucking tangents, which it still happens from time to time. But it helped me to really visualize where key moments needed to happen, where they're numbered, and how they relate to one another from previous sequences.
Quite honestly, I might ask you to give me a course on that sometime because I think I've a lot to learn in that aspect. I've been so focused on developing the look of the Spacious characters and like the overarching plot to think about technicalities of that, but one step at a time, I guess.
Absolutely, and I love hearing about other people's stories.
Yeah, and we probably should start winding things down. I think you do it pretty soon. But people I will be including, I've included a link to the Will of Monsters animatic on Vimeo with the past few episodes, and I'll continue to do so.
Yay!
I'll also include ones from my E3 thing, and I'll try and put up some stuff for Spacious. I'm also, Chris, I'm going to be editing audio clips from both things into our discussions of them. But I did want to ask, do you have any additional questions about Spacious?
Okay, I got one.
Yeah.
If your characters have a favorite video game character, who would they be?
Let me think. Roscoe would probably be Clank.
Okay.
Jed would probably be, I would say Travis Touchdown, but he wouldn't like the weeaboo aspect.
Travis Touchdown. I haven't heard that name in forever.
But he's coming back.
Yeah.
And we heard 3 for the Switch. But I don't. But the fact that he's like such a anime fan, I don't think that would be Jed's kind of thing.
Yeah.
Leslie would like Samus because she's so reliant on technology.
Okay.
And Kiki would like. I'm trying to think of someone who's very reliant on the arts in games, and that's not a very common thing. Probably just a cute character like Kirby or something. Like I can draw him.
Okay.
So a lot of Nintendo characters. Oh, you did ask before, like which professional actors can you envision playing him? And truthfully, I didn't really give that thought for any of them. Except though I did give some thought. Okay, no, you know what? I had one long ago. Back when I watched Hey Arnold all the time. I was like, I could totally see Roscoe having Mr. Simmons' voice.
Mr. Simmons.
All right, Jed, you're very special. Like it's a very sweet voice, so I think that's where I got it from. Yeah, I love Mr. Simmons. But though I give more thought, I think Jed could still be voiced by. Do you know who Josh Keaton is?
Josh Keaton, yes, I've heard of
He's
him.
the main guy in Transformers Prime that we talked about.
Cool.
And he's done a lot of. I'm not very good at naming like his main roles, but he's done others. He's the current voice of Spyro in the Skylanders games. Not the cartoon. They got Justin Long for that, but you can hear him in those. And he pops in other stuff. He was the young Revolver Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 3, I think. He's a busy guy. I'm just not. There are plenty of like voice actors whose names I recognize, but I couldn't really tell you any of their big roles because often it's just stuff I haven't gotten around to.
Okay.
The girls, I could not tell you.
All right. Aw.
It's kind of very particular for both of them. Like with Leslie, it's kind of like not too high, not too low, just something that can be stern, something that can be sweet. And Kiki also like something that you can buy being a kid voice, but nothing too annoying or energetic, screechy, or stuff like that. And
that's always a tough road.
And that's something that Kaylee's been very good with working on, like doing, like, you know, when she first auditioned, doing multiple pitches and stuff. And we finally said, let's just go with this.
Okay.
And like there are other elements of Spacious that I didn't mention. I technically I will be doing a voice in it. the quote-unquote fifth lead is Jed has a little guy called Jim, which is a little parasite attached to his scalp.
Ooh.
Who you'll see pictures of him at some point. He's a little like blobby antenna thing, and the joke is he does it's like a parasite basically. And Jed got him on his head when he was a kid, but as soon as he found out he wasn't dangerous, he was like, "I like you. You can stick around."
Okay.
And
right.
And in a way, Jim's almost like his conscience. He has more morals and responsibility, a sense of responsibility to him. And he's one of those characters who speaks gibberish, but everybody can understand. And Chris, you're going to love this. I'm basically going to give him a rabbit voice.
You're going to give him a rabbit voice?
Yeah, so it's going to be like, "Hey, Jim, what do you think?"
All is lost.
The rabbits are everywhere. Give in to the rabbits.
No. No, damn.
I'm sorry, Chris, but hopefully you'll like Jim more than you like the rabbits.
I'm sure I will.
And there are like other side characters developing. Like, eventually there is a villain who's like several underlings who are very important characters for different reasons. One recent idea I had, both for the idea of representation and consistency in the story and just fun opportunities, is that they, that they live in a spaceship. And something I didn't bring up that I think is really important to the idea of Spacious is that for all the technology you have, they're still very just trying to make ends meet. It's kind of a Firefly, Cowboy Bebop situation. Mm-hmm. So they generally live in like the equivalent of a trailer park for little spaceships. Okay. And their landlord / property owner is a gay pair of aliens. But what I'm trying to do is not make their characterization stereotypical and not make the homosexuality a butt of the joke.
I gotcha.
Like I've brought up in the past, a show I want to talk about eventually that I love is Mission Hill, which was a super progressive show in terms of its gay representation. They knew the right times to make jokes about it, which I don't think I'd do that, but they how these two characters play off each other, because the idea would be that one is big and gentle and the other is small and feisty. Yeah. And they both kind of balance each other out. And they have some fun dynamics and growth to them. And even where the plot goes is like the main villain would be this alien who is just super jaded because he's had some horrible things happen to him in life, even when he had best intentions, and so he takes on a nihilistic, very grim and selfish worldview because he finds out a theory about the universe having a border. And but his idea is, the theory is, if you cut through it and see what lies beyond, the universe will implode on itself like a balloon. He's like, worth that risk. I'll leave everybody else behind.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of ties into the theme of him not being willing to accept, deal, or try to improve his own world. And just kind of a very warped but somewhat sympathetic villain. But and like his underlings have varying degrees of morality tied to that lead to different conflicts and plot points. You'll hear more about them later. But like Spacious has... Because originally it was really I envisioned just a zany comedy with these four and another alien who just kind of got out of the way when I kind of assimilated his personality to Jed's. Mm-hmm. And another robot who's just not a thing anymore. And but just, the older you get and the more time you spend, the more mature and the more ideas you get about story, the more it grows. And Spacious is proof positive of that, I'd say, at least from what I have envisioned of it.
Okay.
But I think it's a good time to bring things to a close. Sure. I'm sorry I rambled on Spacious for a little bit, but I guess there were just some things that we forgot to bring up that I thought it would be fun to get out.
It's okay. Like I said, I like hearing about other people's stories.
Yeah, and Will of Monsters, everything about the process of that sounds really awesome. I meant to ask, are you intending to go back and do any additional things with it, or revisions or animation?
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm actually... At the moment, I am planning out a strategy for a crowdfunding campaign. So I'm taking out time to figure out how my network contacts are going to work through this. And sometime next year, I'm going to launch it. So I
might have mentioned to you already, I would love to help with it in some way. Awesome. If you get it going, like with animation or just something.
That's fine, because essentially all this money is going to go towards animation.
Right.
Like all
and do you still need to pay Pi's voice actress?
Yes, that's for sure. But I'm most likely going to do that out of pocket.
Okay, that's more affordable, I guess.
Yeah, some of the stuff I can do out of pocket.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like for the theme song and the two main actors, I just saved up and this is worth it.
Yeah, but as far as animation's concerned, I'm not going to get, like you said, I'm not going to be done with this until I'm 60. So if I try
one
to do
short, okay, then I'm not going to be done with this series till I'm 200. I'll be like Yoda. Putting away. Oh, I do drawings.
Yeah,
this is a terrible Yoda impression.
Yeah, this is why it's smarter to get other people to help.
Yes. And I feel like if I do a couple and get some fans some exposure, maybe I can start reaching out to others to try for collaborate. We'll see what happens. And because I'm also juggling the reviews and every now and then a Wario, but Spacious is the real passion project of the three. But this has been quite an episode. We're bringing it to a close. We talked a lot about a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff. So our next episode, we've actually planned out the next three, I guess. Do you want me to say what all three are, or just the next one? You choose. You do the next one, and we'll leave the next. We'll leave the preceding two. Yeah, they're going to be fun ones. But our next one, we're hoping to have another guest. I've been talking to them. It'll be a first-time guest. I've been talking to them. We're trying to narrow down a date, and he gave me some very good suggestions. And I talked with you, and we settled on. We're going to do a general retrospective on the Powerpuff Girls. Yes, our manliest podcast ever. Awesome. Yeah, the reboot. Awesome. Oh, wait. I don't think we're going to talk about the reboot that much. It's probably going to be like the show and maybe the movie and stuff. But it will be fun to talk about because that was one of the defining shows of my early teenage years. I will say right now, you can expect to help me talk about how worried my mom was that I loved this show. Well, yeah, my dad was pretty worried that I liked John, is this like Dora the Explorer? Why are you watching this? Don't judge me, Mom! I want to tell her, tell her, Mom, it could be worse. I could be a brony now. Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Not automatically, but you get what I'm saying. She would be worried even if it was a casual brony. Yeah. She's worried. I'm sure she's worried about me enough, like, John, stop loving Mario so much. Jeez. I think my mom was not expecting me to have some pictures of My Little Pony in my old apartment, and I was like, I like the look of the show. Okay. Well, that's a talk for another day, I think. So yeah, Powerpuff Girls next week, then two other really interesting topics in the week after. But for now, I am John Fleury, and I'm Christopher Wade, and we wish you good night. Catch you guys later. Bye. Bye-bye.